What's the strongest ship in the fleet? And I know fleets. Friendship. Scene Snobs, you guys are great.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast, everybody. I am your host, Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob, and I am back for another Tuesday night adventure with you guys live. So I'm so happy you guys are joining in on the comments. If you're not watching this live, you're listening to it later. Thank you guys so much for listening. Truly appreciate you and the Snobnation for being here, being so supportive. We love you. And we got some great stuff coming up, especially this month. We are loaded. We are going to continue on. I think next week we're going to be doing again at the 7 o'clock hour, the Scene Snobs Podcast live. So make sure to keep joining in. Head over, join our Discord, check out all our other stuff. We'll get there. But we're having a really good time with it. We have a great show for you guys in store for you guys today. You know, I've been thinking about it, and we have a great guest. We're going to get into talking about filmmaking. We're going to get talking to art, how art influences movies, things like that. We're going to do another Ask Mick Anything. Then we're also, Did I Fix? And the movie is Predator 2. So I'm very excited for that. That comes from one of our patrons and good friends, the Godshake himself, Dan. Thank you so much for the movie. You know, it got me thinking a lot the past few days about what's going on with this writer's strike. I am very happy and thrilled to be a part of such a great community of independent filmmakers. I absolutely enjoy being in their presence. Independent filmmaking is a great time. I myself have been an independent filmmaker. I've also worked on the studio level in all facets of some walks of life. And I can't wait to actually get into it a little bit more. John, our guest tonight, who lives out in LA and, you know, he works out in the industry. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But it got me talking, like I said, with the writer's strike and everything that's going on. A lot of productions are being stopped, a lot, and as they should be. I support the writer's strikes. I stand with the WGA and what they're doing. Their demands, like we talked about on last week's show, and I'm not going to go over that again. They should be met. They're not unreasonable, and it's important. And these things being shut down may be an inconvenience for you, but just keep in mind what these writers are going through. And with the ever-changing world of streaming and, you know, just the influx of new creators and content coming out, writers are almost the first ones to really kind of be knocked back and kind of like, oh, well, you know, we'll be all right. Studios have always sort of had that outlook. Not that they don't respect, not that they don't pay, but it gets tough. It really does get tough. And we're going to see a lot of things fall through. We've seen a lot of hit TV shows canceled, which is, I remember in 2008 when the last writer strike happened, a lot of stuff was canceled because, again, they can't sustain paying everyone during a strike. And even if you have a hit TV show, it's usually the more money that comes into it. It's a very important thing. Now, I want to get back into, and I don't want to pontificate. I'm not trying to hold anybody to any certain standards or anything like that. And again, my guest tonight, John, I can't wait to hear his take on it as well, being an indie filmmaker himself and working, you know, on many productions. So, like, you know, so he sees all of it from both sides, and he lives in Los Angeles, so it's going to be a really cool insight to find out. But to come from my point of view of, like, I've been seeing a lot of indie filmmakers, I don't want to say picking on, but, and I know this doesn't go for everybody, but almost ignorantly mocking the writer's strike and the writers and what they're going through. And that really bothers me. It really upsets me seeing, you know, anybody who listens who's part of the indie community, you know, it's not, unions aren't there to keep you out, you know, and the industry, I can't always say that for, but the unions are there to protect the people who get in and are working in this industry and really doing it. And this is definitely a situation where, again, the fact that in 15 years we've had 2 writer strikes is a big deal. And it says a lot more about the studios than it does about the writers themselves. You know, getting a piece of the pie because you are the foundation, you're building the structure of all the projects that are coming out, and having that questioned on whether what you do is enough being brought to the table, it's heartbreaking in a lot of ways. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of touch down on that in this opening in my intro, because when I see indie filmmakers doing that, and I say ignorantly, and I don't mean that as a, you know, and I'm not mocking you when you say, but like a lot of times indie filmmakers that I have had the good pleasure of working with or being or surrounding myself with and talking to, even through this platform, they don't fully understand, especially if you're on the outside of it. Like if you're working in a different state and that's where you've lived and that's where you've worked, and that's where you film your projects and such. When you're working outside of the studio structure and what's going on, it's very easy to mock these writers and say, well, you have it all. You're a writer. You're in the union. You're doing this. Yeah, but that's, you know, if you were in it, it would be a different story. If you're not getting paid a fair wage or getting the royalties you deserve on projects that you've clearly worked on, and many other things that are happening to you with streaming services coming out and like the lines clearly not drawn, it's going to be an issue. Yeah, and mocking them, we should be supporting these writers as filmmakers. The executives are the executives. It's almost like mocking, you know, if you to kind of use a, you know, maybe sort of a simple analogy, but mocking somebody who works at a cash register in like a Walmart for going on strike for not getting a fair wage, and you're sticking up for the executives that run Walmart. They're going to make their paychecks. They're going to always make their money. We got to support these writers. Stand with the WGA is very important. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. If you are an indie filmmaker, if you have made some jokes, maybe go back, read up on it, research a little bit, see what's actually going on, and get into the fight a little bit. Support, show them, you know, that we care. So, all right, before I bring John on, I want to say thank you guys so much for being here again. Let's go through and say hi to everybody. Sturdy, what's up, buddy? Sturdy, I'm not saying it. Stop. Derpy Snobs, what's up, Derpy? How you doing? I saw a fan edit of Superman Legacy and G's Goosebumps. It's by Dr. Flashpoint. Very cool. What's up, Radar? How you doing, pal? Sweet shirt. Thanks, pal. I get it from Shirt Punch. Be a sponsor, Shirt Punch. Come on. At this point, I'm paying the bills. How's it going, Sturdy? I love when the Snobnation comes together. Pretty good for you, Derpy. How's it going? Prepped for CFF. That's right. And we will talk about CFF a little bit later on. What's going on? How you doing, Dadpool? Appreciate you, my friend. And all right, let's real quick before I bring John on, gotta pay the bills, right? So let's do that. Guys, Entertainment Earth, their affiliate sponsor. We love them. Please go check them out. If you're into collectibles, they have great stuff. Use our link down below in the description, and that gives us the credit. We really, truly appreciate you. And they have a lot of fun stuff. I love Entertainment Earth. I order a lot of stuff off Entertainment Earth, and I have a lot more stuff coming. So I will show it to you. But if you guys do order, let me know, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. Without further ado, I want to bring on my guest tonight and have a great conversation with him. He is an artist. He's a VFX artist. He is an indie filmmaker and so much more. I was reading this guy has information out there, and you should definitely go check out the links below. Does some great work. Go check him out on Instagram. He's got some great artwork up there. It's Mahoney _artworks. And I have, again, everything's going to be down below. Go check it out. But I'm going to bring him on now. John Mahoney. Thank you, sir, for joining me tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. Having me.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you again so much for coming on and sharing in this conversation. I want to talk about your work, man. Let's you ready to get into it?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I got to ask you. You're living in Los Angeles.
North
If
Hollywood, yes.
I was just going to ask, what area in North Hollywood? What area in North Hollywood do you live in?
What area? Well, North Hollywood's pretty small, but it's right on the border of Burbank.
Very cool. I lived
so
in Valley Village. That's why I ask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I lived right on Burbank Boulevard for a long time, right by the 101.
Oh, well, we're really close. I thought you were in New York for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, it's got to be the Manhattan name for sure. I'm originally from Jersey. I lived in Manhattan, but I lived in LA for a long time. I'm in Virginia now. I finally settled down.
Okay, gotcha.
But that's
But yeah,
very
we
cool.
we like it here. It's kind of centralized. If we wanted to go into Hollywood or travel around, it's kind of right in the middle of everything. So it's really nice.
Very nice, very nice. So let's talk about it a little bit. You are an artist, a VFX artist, indie filmmaker, and so much more. Where do we start? Let's start with your artwork.
Sure.
So before we get into the filmmaking side of things, when it came into art, and you have so many beautiful designs, and I was looking through everything, and I really enjoy your artwork, but it's a very specific type of look, and now. And I dig that a lot, and I'm going to bring it up, but I just wanted you to talk about it a little bit. What inspires you when you start putting together this artwork?
I grew up in upstate New York, and there wasn't really much art up there back in the day. So my first big inspiration was Heavy Metal magazine. That was the holy grail for me for a while growing up. So I looked at heavy metal a lot, and then Star Wars. So that was basically the original Star Wars coupled with heavy metal was my big influence. And then I went to art school. So I got a chance to go to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York for art.
Wow,
And
that's a great school.
yeah, I think so. And our teachers would encourage us to look at the fine art of the past, and we go to the Museum of Natural History and the Metropolitan Museum. So my work is kind of influenced by the, kind of like the popular fantasy work. And then hopefully the classics are sneaked in there a little bit, the master artist of the past, so it's kind of a mixture.
I see a lot of and correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I want everybody to kind of get an idea of your artwork. But I see a lot of H.R. Geiger influence. I don't know how much that comes into, or more of that European sort of, I don't want to say Swedish, but like that more of the Western European sort of style where it's very sharp.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. That's a big influence. I love H.R. Giger. I always walk around the house and imitate his voice. And one of my favorite things in the world is the Alien quadrilogy, the box set. And I said when I die, I'm going to have that buried with me so I can watch it throughout eternity, because it's
the DVD black with the green box set.
It's like 100 hours of bonus features. It's to me, it's like my comfort food. I get some Chinese food together, and I'll watch the making of Alien, and makes me feel all warm and cozy inside.
And that was, to kind of correlate to your filmmaking career. It's funny that I was not planning this, by the way, to correlate it to your filmmaking career. And to talk about that box set in particular, the artwork that they put together just for those 4 movies alone that they didn't even use.
Absolutely.
It's so astonishing. Like, I love it. And I love that. That is a great box set. That's one of my favorite DVD box sets too. So I'm right there with you. Now, when you're watching a movie, and I want to talk a little bit about the influence, especially because you're more of a contemporary artist, if I'm correct.
Sure.
I want to
absolutely.
It's for in the style that you do, when you say you're watching a movie or and because you're a filmmaker too, how do you correlate things, like, because I saw in some of your artwork where you do have that almost like a xenomorph style, or I see other styles like are you into like more French films too as well? Sci-fi, I definitely see
more sci-fi. I mean, specific sci-fi films, that have kind of influenced me. People have said there's a correlation between like City of Lost Children is like another kind of like funky,
Okay.
or Brazil by Terry Gilliam. So it's kind of like artsy, not artsy, but it's a little bit more unusual sci-fi, I guess, is what I've been attracted to. For
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
I definitely notice, and I pulled it up to kind of show the people who are watching. For the people who are listening, you're gonna have to go and watch. But this one right here, it kind of seems like it was influenced a lot on Metropolis.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not consciously, but many years ago, I was trying to do my own remake of Metropolis.
Oh, wow.
And I was working on it for a while. And I went to the theater and I saw the movie Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. And it was the first time I was so blown away by a film that I couldn't watch it. I actually left the theater. It was just like, this is too good. I literally could not watch it. I went home and cried, and then came back the next day and gave up, because everything that he did in Sky Captain was what I was trying to do in Metropolis. So anyway, but yeah, I think Metropolis probably is in there, maybe subconsciously, because I do, love that kind of classic, clean design for sure. So totally.
Well, for you, like when you are creating, and I know it's not just drawing, and I'm sure you use a digital aspect to it, because I'm not an artist, especially when it comes to drawings, things like that. So I don't do anything digital other than like, maybe some of the title cards and things that you see.
Right.
So when you're creating, and I saw you do a lot of sculptures too, right?
Yes.
What is it between like creating digitally or drawing, maybe sketching, or doing sculptures and stuff like that, or and we can even add the elements of visual effects and filmmaking when you're filming things. What is it that you really like kind of gravitate towards to help inspire as you go? Is it a certain thing that is connected to what you're creating that's influenced, or is it, or they're like something that you go back to constantly, or like consciously, that you really?
Yeah, I think it all goes back to figure drawing, actually. Drawing from the human being and being influenced by the human figure. So, yes, I've been teaching figure drawing for like 20 years, and all the people that are working on my film have a strong figure drawing background. So it's almost like something I'm trying to bring back to Hollywood, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah.
It was strong in the 1960s and 70s, really strong figure drawing influence in the work, maybe even the 50s. But now it's a little bit more digital, a little bit more, polished. But yeah, having a strong, I think, figure drawing background, you might see it in the creatures and the sculptures and this, the digital stuff. It all kind of funnels back into the idea of figure drawing. And I'm actually doing a poster for a company that's due next week. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to figure drawing class tonight. I'm going to take drawings of the model, like her head and stuff, and I'm going to funnel this into this crazy poster design. So everything always funnels back to figure drawing.
I love that so much. And for you, so let's talk about filmmaking a little bit. Yeah, I want to get into it there, and I definitely want to talk about your current project that you're getting your film in and such. And but overall, what is this style of film like? Do you like live action? Do you prefer animated? Do you prefer claymation sort of work? For you, what is a big draw? Like, I know you said Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow was a big influence, because when you saw it, it was like everything, because that is a beautiful movie. The cinematography in that movie and just the visual effects are mind blowing. But for you, like, what is your? I know you like sci-fi, but like, what is a style that you really enjoy and go to that you would like to not mimic but maybe expand on?
Well, I mean, definitely in the realm of live action. First of all, I kind of found my way into animation almost by mistake, and then I woke up 20 years later, like, where am I? How did I get lost? But no, yeah, live action is my passion. I like 70s realism, like Taxi Driver, one of my favorite films, and I love Requiem for a Dream. I'm not sure if you've seen that one. It's not the 70s, but
that's a hard one now.
A good feel good. I saw that 5 times in the theater.
Wow,
Requiem for a Dream. So that's
I've seen it twice. The second time it was like, hey, we're gonna watch this, you should watch it, and I was there and I was just like, this is a tough watch. I'm just letting you guys know this now.
But yeah, I love those type. I mean, The Exorcist is one of my favorites. But yeah, a little bit more gritty, you know. I mean, I think there's a lot of wonderful stuff happening nowadays, but I'm gravitating more towards the late 60s, 1970s type of films, you know, Dog Day Afternoon and The Graduate, you know.
Yeah, and I see that in your artwork. If you don't mind me interjecting for a second, like, I definitely see a grittiness to your artwork, but I think a lot of times when people hear gritty, they automatically think ugly. I don't think that. I think you can add a grittiness to, and not just movies, but art in general, all over, all aspects of it. There can be such a gorgeous beauty to grittiness, you know. If I'm making sense.
Yeah, I get that. I think that what I'm trying to go for is even more ugly. Like,
okay,
you know, I think the film is going to be a little bit more on the ugly side because it has, you know, it's dealing with like homeless people and stuff like that. So, it's like you spend your whole life trying to make art beautiful, and then at a certain point you realize maybe beauty doesn't necessarily fit the story you're trying to tell. So that's part of at least with this particular project, is finding how to make things ugly. And I love, not that David Cronenberg does ugly stuff, but it's not, you know,
no.
Aesthetically.
It's funny you said that. I was immediately thinking David Cronenberg, like a Videodrome or The Fly or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of like the direction, not necessarily the body horror, but the direction of, because the thing is with Hollywood, everything's beautiful. The worst film, the best film, they're all TV shows. Everything is beautiful. And that doesn't necessarily equate to the story they're trying to tell. Like, I like the movie, not the movie, the TV show Dahmer. Have you seen Dahmer?
I have not watched it, but I do know of it, and I've seen scenes from it.
Yeah, like that. They really, I mean, it's hard to watch, but it really captured the time period. And it was beautifully shot, but it wasn't pretty. You know, it kind of fit the, you know, fit the genre, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Actually, I would love to know your take on this as a filmmaker, being such a fan of the 70s, and that was a really gritty time, and even a style of film, it was ugly. It showed where we were at in the 70s, you know, even if they weren't trying. It almost felt.
Exactly.
You know, if there was no fog on the lens, it was a gritty film. So,
right.
But for you, you know, being influenced by those films, and like you were saying, like there's like an ugliness to it, but now everything's beautiful, and it has been that way for quite a long time. Where can you see like grittiness like that ever being like almost reintroduced into Hollywood, or do you think maybe it's more relegated to indie?
Oh no, they did it with Joker.
Yeah,
remember Joker? I thought they captured it perfectly. You know, so it is possible, and that was a big success, I should say. People weren't like, "Oh no, I don't want to see that," because, you know. So but it fit the story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It fit the what the character was going through in his world and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think it has a place in storytelling. You
Mhm.
know, maybe you pick up a 16 millimeter. Or the funny thing, I saw there was a document. There's tons of documentaries on Apocalypse Now. There was one where they had behind the scenes of Apocalypse Now shot on Super 8, and it looked amazing. And I was like,
Yeah.
imagine going back now and doing a sci-fi epic, but with Super 8 cameras. You know, it's like, I just
Yeah.
think there's something kind of interesting about that. Not simulating Super 8 with your computer, but real Super 8, you know, and on all of its shortcomings. So I kind of like the
Mhm.
idea of going back just because it just, I don't know, it just makes
I
me
like
feel
that.
happy, you know. Yeah.
I like that idea of it too, and I thought that was really lost on the movie, the film Super 8. Like, as we talk about it,
Yeah.
um, the fact that it was so clean, and it was, it was very much an Amblin film, as in with its influence of J.J. Abrams and Spielberg, but like you could have done something. Like you watch those old E.T. E.T. wasn't a beautiful looking film.
Right.
And like even like the Goonies, things like that. There was almost like a down to earth tone and feel to them,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
and I
Exactly.
think
It's
that
like,
misses.
yeah.
We miss that, I think, a lot, especially in, I don't want to say younger films, but in films like where we're trying to emulate those things.
Yeah, yeah, I think there's a lot of, it's like, okay, you shot the film, now you have to put it through all these filters, you know, and it
Yeah.
feels like we're not there anymore. I mean, not for a lot of films, it just feels like it's overly, um, there's a lot of stuff being done in post production, so which is fine, but not for me.
Yeah. No, I
So,
get that. And so, actually, that's for your film. And I do want, next I want to transition. I want to talk about your film. But I did want to ask this as a visual effects. You do visual effects artwork and such as well. Um, and where is it? How much do you try to get done on camera, on set, ready to go, versus what you plan for when it comes to visual effects?
well, I mean, if you can get everything in camera, or 99% of it in camera, it's going to look better,
Mhm. I know. I just wanted to
So,
hear you say it. I want to make sure that everybody hears you say that.
well, the reason, well, I mean, if you shoot everything in pieces, right,
Yeah.
then there's a lot of other people involved later on which tell you how to put those pieces together.
Mhm.
Where if you make the decision, this is the shot, you know what I mean? That's it. This is the shot. You don't have to go back and piece it together later. You don't have to change your mind later. So I like the idea of restrictions. Like back in the 70s, you couldn't go back and add foreground characters and stuff like that. It's just you
Mhm.
get what you get. So you had to do a hand puppet or whatever you needed to do. And a lot of those things still hold up to this day. Some of these earlier films, it works fine. Where older CG films, they have a much shorter shelf life, because it's not real, so
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point to it as well. Like they do, like even like we were talking about Star Wars earlier. That first film, New Hope, being done in the 70s, still holds up, in my opinion. Like the look
yeah,
of
or even looks better than a lot of the
fair.
stuff nowadays.
I love that.
So yeah, I think so yeah, my dream, I always wanted to, imagine if they made Star Wars, but the second or the third film was made in like 1974, and the next one was made in 1966. So you actually pull away, you have less and less technology, and you rely more and more on story, you know.
I love that. I love that you said that. I love that. I talk to a lot of filmmakers, and story's not always the first thing they say.
Yeah, like for instance, the original Planet of the Apes was made for a decent budget, and the second film they made it for half the budget, and the
Mhm.
next film half that. So it got cheaper and cheaper. So every film they had to lean more on story,
Yeah.
And it was a great series, and nowadays, you may have a real strong story for your first film, second film, double the budget, half the story. The third film, triple the budget, but and I think the reason for that is just there's so many hands, there's so many people making the soup,
Yeah, that's a great point. And actually, it reminds me of something. There was a show, Dinner for 5 years ago, and Roger Corman was a guest on one of them. And the great Roger Corman, with the man who can save money on every project, he was talking about how he makes so many sequels. And he said, well, basically what we do is we make the first one, and if it makes this much money, then we know we're going to set the bar down here. If any of the sequels come close to this, we're done. We're not making any more sequels. And like he said, like Carnosaur, I think was one he said, and it made him a big amount of money for the company. And then Carnosaur 2 was right under it, then 3, then 4. And he said 4 was right above that line, and he knew that needed to be done. He said I followed that rule throughout my entire career, and I was able to make money. I never lost money on a project. I was like, that's a great rule.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
But speaking of projects, let's talk about what you're currently doing. So I don't know how much you can tell us, but if you can elaborate some, we'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah, I can, it's a feature science fiction film. It's kind of, I call it like a Beauty and the Beast in space, basically. So it's my kind of creatures and stuff like that. And as I was developing the project, the concept kept coming back to me, like, what if there was a film that was made in like 1976 that no one ever saw? Like someone finds these old film canisters in a garage and opens up and say, hey, there's film here. Let's put it in the projector. And it's like this lost epic that no one ever saw. So all the technology we're doing to make the film will be technology that was used prior to Star Wars, So no motion control, stop motion, of course, CG. So that's kind of like what will give it its specific aesthetic and style for the film. And yes, I've been working on it for about 4.5 years now. And I decided, because I used to work at Disney. And back at Disney, they would actually do a story reel of the entire film, like all the storyboards, sound effects, music, and people could watch it and make notes. Oh, this is coming along, or we need to fix this and that. So I thought maybe I could do that myself with my own couple of people, and just kind of cobble something together. But I wanted the storyboards to be amazing. So I was like, well, let's take our time. So I figured it'll probably take about I calculated 3 to 3.5 months, and it took 3.5 years. It was like, It was about 3,000 storyboards, at least. But we have the whole movie. So I'll bring people over to my place so we can screen it, and pop some popcorn. You're watching the movie in storyboards. And then at the end of the film, we have feedback. I have my notebook, and people tell me what's working, what's not, but they can see the whole story. And the reason I did that was, no matter how good the project is, Hollywood's not going to let me direct this thing. They'd be like, what's your track record? What have you done before? Understandably. So I figured if I directed in storyboards, they can see every single shot, the pacing, the angles, the style, everything. And I thought, okay, that's cool, but they still wouldn't let me direct it. So the next thing, I say maybe they would, I don't know. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a stage play, and we're going to perform the entire movie as well. And that way I can practice directing actors. I can figure out the style of the acting. I can get feedback from the actors. And then we can maybe take slivers of that as a proof of concept. Like here's the character relationships and stuff like that, without all the bells and whistles, without the monsters, just people relating to each other. Because I really care more about the actors than anything else, and that's sometimes with sci-fi people, for good or for bad, they tend to focus on on the visuals, and the cool gadgets,
Mhm.
and which is fine, but I just care about the characters. And if I'm a terrible director, I'll find out real quick.
Fair. I doubt that,
Yeah,
but fair.
yeah. And if I am, which I don't think I am, but if I am, then I'll just go down under and start taking acting classes, and I'll just, it's like anything else. If you find your shortcomings in certain areas, you just buckle under and keep studying and see where it goes.
That's great advice. That's great for people to hear, and I love that idea of putting on a stage play of it. I mean, it's not unheard of. I've seen where they'll do script readings on a stage and invite a crowd out and such, but to act it out and really be able to play with the actors and learn the craft of directing through that, you don't see many, especially, and not saying that you're a new director by any means, but like, you don't see a lot. I wish more newer directors, I guess is what I'm trying to say, might think about that or take that on. Because I really feel like there's something there, like even as a crowdfunder or something, just to kind of get the story out there, get the idea, and like see, and that's got to be such a learning experience. That's fantastic. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll
Great idea.
hopefully be auditioning actors probably next month, and
Very cool.
and kind of putting it together. I mean, I just want to direct, and I think a lot of people around Hollywood, or maybe other places too, they're spending a lot of their lives pitching.
Mhm.
Like, no, I don't want to pitch. I want to direct. You know what I mean? I want. It's like, well, if I can cobble together a couple of dollars and direct actors, I'm directing.
That's 100%.
So that's it. So so my philosophy. I even have a note on my wall saying, green light Zentropa. But I green light it myself.
Yeah.
So, and once you start moving forward, you're unstoppable. It's like, I'm doing it. You can't stop me. You cannot stop me. So, but I'm hoping that after a while, the people will see what we're doing, and then we'll be like, oh man, this is cool. We're going to throw some money your way. We're going to see if we can finish it and get it into theaters. But I want to kind of prove to myself and to everyone involved that, yeah, you got someone here though who knows what he's doing, who's confident that he can pull this thing off. So that's the game plan.
And confidence is a big deal when you're doing filmmaking. You got to be able to step up, and I can see it. I mean, you have, but experience has probably put a lot of that confidence into you, because I can tell you have a lot of experience, especially by everything, all the research I've been doing.
Thank you.
But I think the thing that I love that you're saying here and that we're talking about is, with all the experience that you have, you've worked for studios, you've done independently, you teach, you're right there in LA, which I've always said to filmmakers too, is like, I understand a lot of filmmakers don't want to move to LA. I get it. I think you should. I think you should for even just a little bit, even if it's a little bit of time. I only lived there for about 5 years, but it was such an eye-opening experience, and it opened, networking wise, it opened my eyes up to so many different things. I learned a lot about the studio process and getting in to working on that. So, for me, the thing that I love that you're talking about here, and with all the experience that you have and what you're getting into, is that you're still saying, I want to do this because I want to learn.
Absolutely.
You don't hear that a lot. I love that.
Yeah, it's like, like let's say, okay, we're going to fund your film. We got to start tomorrow. You may not have enough time to rehearse your actors, but if you're doing a quote stage play, you could rehearse for 6 months,
Yeah.
And some of my favorite, like the director who did The Graduate and stuff, he was an amazing stage director long before he did movies. And, I think I have a pretty good amount of experience on the art side. And I shot a bunch of films, short films, but I want to know what I don't know, and I want to have already run through these things. I've already shot this scene 16 times, on stage. Now we got a few cameras involved. We got some makeup. We got some prosthetics. We got some lighting. But the most important thing is I understand what the actors need. And also, I'm kind of geeking out right now. But also, you can figure out what's not working. Oh, this relationship that I built in the script might not work.
Yeah.
It's good to find it out long before the cameras are rolling, to fix it in editing later on. You've heard of that story with movies, So
Yeah. I love
and
that.
even with all that, there's no guarantee. It could still crash and burn, but at least I'm kind of doing the best of my ability to kind of check off all the things that I think I need to do to not only make a film, but make a good one, if that makes any sense.
And that's your due diligence. You're doing the work, and that's the important thing. And I love talking to indie filmmakers, especially that understand that. They understand, like, just because it's part of the fun. It's the process,
Yeah, absolutely. So
John, I know we're wrapping up a little bit, but I would love to, if you can. I love the tagline for it. It's Beauty and the Beast in space. Could you give us a kind of a summary and just something a little bit so we can talk about it? And is there a crowdfunder that maybe people can donate to, or any way that people can help making your dream come true?
Yeah, I don't have a crowdfunder at the moment. We have some merchandise that we created we did a Kickstarter that just finished, and we're getting ready to send the materials out right now. But the story is it's definitely a family drama. It's I say it's Beauty and the Beast, but it's actually 3 beauties and 3 beasts. So it's 3 sisters, and they kind of in their own different way fall in love with these giant monkey men in this other planet. And it's there was one scene, I think it was the end of Planet of the Apes, where Charlton Heston kisses the monkey girl. I don't remember what her name was. And that was it. And that's how my entire feature is expansion of that one kiss. And they don't really, but that idea. And I also, I love romance movies. Or I love the idea of romance in films. So I figured, let me put 3 romances in here. It's just, but there's a lot of character relationships going on. And I was talking about this with my friends, and it seems like even with a lot of this, all of the superhero films, the best ones are always the origin films, where you get to know the people, and oh man, that's always the best one. But that's the idea with this one, is you're understanding the world, you're understanding who these people are and their relationships and their shortcomings. And a friend of mine who asked me, is like, well, John, who's Darth Vader? Who's your villain? And I said, there are no villains. I don't believe I'm too old for villains. Maybe when I was in my 20s. So they all have a dark and a light side inside them, and they're trying their best to get through life. But there's these conflicts where one person wants one thing, another person wants another. So there's a lot of conflict in there. But it's a way of me, I guess, living through these ideas through these characters.
Yeah, I actually love that, and the cool part about it, for listening to that premise, is like, yeah, there are no villains, like, and hearing you talk about romance and kind of how that plays into movies. You think about, like, lack of picking somebody better, but like the Woody Allen films of the 70s and 80s,
absolutely,
the Nancy Meyers movies, to a point, like, they're all character driven. There's no real monster to it. There's no villain. It's people dealing with situations, and I love that. One of my wife's favorite movies, which isn't so much a romance movie as it is a drama, a family drama, like you had mentioned earlier, it was Steel Magnolias.
Right.
And so because it's one of her favorite movies, I've seen it quite a bit. And it's a very good movie, well acted. But one thing I really like, that there's no real antagonists there. There's people who can antagonize through it,
right? Exactly.
And but it keeps you, like, enthralled throughout. Like, you're very much you are into these characters, and I love that you're willing to play with that, especially on stage, because I love theater. I have a theater background before film, and seeing that you had the story and characters and the acting and how that comes together, and that's what's keeping your attention. That's what's really there drawing you in. Yeah, I love that you're doing that to practice it before you get to the movie. I wish you all the best. I would love it if when you start, when you're getting to the point of maybe even a couple of weeks in or something of doing the show, if you would come back on, I would love to talk about your experience with it.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully I won't be in tears, but
you will be, but you'll still love it. Filmmaking is
great.
Yeah, I would love to have you come on, and I'm we'll talk again and maybe have you on for other things as well to get your insights and such. But I would definitely love to hear about your experience with that. I really enjoyed our conversation tonight. You were fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate having me on it. Awesome.
Absolutely, John. Thank you so much. I'm going to reach out to you after the show. Of course, say thank you again. But yes, I would definitely love to talk to you more about your art and your filmmaking and such.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, make sure to go check out John Mahoney's artwork. All the links are down below in the description. John, thank you again for coming. Really appreciate you being on the show tonight and talking with me.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night, sir.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was so much fun. John is a really nice guy. It's the first time I've ever had a chance to talk to him, but I'm so glad he could come on. I can't wait to have him on again. If you guys I think you should go check it out. Once he gets a crowdfunding started, let's go support him. I will post it and put it out there. So, but thank you guys so much for joining in. And Katie, thanks for joining in. I love seeing you. Appreciate you jumping in. And Sturdy, how you doing, buddy? I want to be on some of those. I'm not inviting you. You're not allowed to come. We're going to have very fun conversations, and you're just going to have to watch. Of course, Sturdy. Of course, you can always be on. Guys, all right, it's that time. We're kind of winding down. We're going to be getting out of here. We still have a Did I Fix, but I always like in the beginning to do like I'm trying this Ask Mick Anything. So if you have anything that you want to ask, you want to talk about, I'm an open book. And if I don't know, I will just say I don't know. So I just want to say go for it. Pull the cord. Ask me anything you want to ask. I do have some things I would like to kind of cover that are coming up. And then before I get to the Did I Fix, this is going to be a heavy month. We have a lot of shows coming at you. I know Snobnation Morning Drive Live show is on hiatus until June 16th. We're going to come back strong. That's the morning of Awesome Con. We will be covering Awesome Con that weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully be out there. If you are, make sure to come see me and say hello. But we will start the morning show back up before then. We will be doing a special morning show on Friday of CFF. And that is going to be covering CFF. Master Shake should be there with me. We might have some other special Snobnation guests. It's going to be a really good time. CFF is coming fast. May 26th through the 28th. If you have VIP tickets, we're going to be there all 3 days. We're going to be doing some really fun panels. We're going to be shooting some fun stuff. You guys will be able to check out after. But we'll also be doing live shows so you can watch it. So if you don't get a chance to make it, please join in on the live show. Ask questions. Let me pull up now. I want to talk about CFF a little bit more because we have 2 shows coming up. As you guys know, every month we do horror conversation. Excuse me. Where we talk about the horror con and we talk about everything that's going on. That will be continuing throughout the year. We will be talking about it more and more. Again, it's 26th through 28th. I have so many celebrity guests. Some really fun stuff. Heather Matazzaro, Seth Gilliam, Tara Reid, Ian McCulloch. If you've ever seen Zombie, you better go check it out. Dana DiLorenzo from Ash vs. the Evil Dead. David Naughton from American Werewolf in London. Ray Santiago from Ash vs. the Evil Dead. Derek Mears. Troy James. This is his first ever con appearance. He was in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. He was Hellboy, The Flash, The Strain, Nightmare Alley, The Wendigo. He's done a lot of stuff, and he's a contortionist, so I'm kind of afraid to talk to him because that stuff freaks me out, man. Dee Wallace is going to be there. Barbara Crampton's going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing a special panel Friday night, so make sure to come in and join. We will be filming it to put on the YouTube channel later, so make sure you can go and check that out. But if you are there, make sure to go check that out as well. Brett Wagner, Arhe Mihailov, Jennifer Banco, and Robert Mukes. We're going to have some really fun stuff going on. I'd love for you guys to join. We're going to have a lot of the Snob Nation there is joining in. We're going to have a good time. I am so excited. Actually, Radar says, and yeah, this is going to be really funny. Toxie from Toxic Avenger 2 and 3 will be there as well. I am very excited for that. I want a picture with him. Toxic Avenger is a New Jersey superhero. We love him. So thank you for reminding me of that, Radar. That just came up today. That's why I didn't remember it off the bat. So just don't hold it against me. But guys, it is a good time. I really hope you guys can make it. We're going to be down there having fun, and I really can't wait for you to be there. All right, before we get started, let's talk about it. I made some new designs on the merch store. Guys, if you want, go check out snobsmerch.com. We have some great new designs like our Horror Nerd shirt, Rebel Scum. We made an all new What's the Strongest Ship in the Fleet shirt, Selfish Lover, and tons more. Go check out some of the stuff that we have. I really love the designs, and I hope you do too. A lot of people have been picking them up, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Snobsmerch.com, or if you go to thescenesnobs.com, there's a link to it there. But all the links are down in the description below. Let's move on. Let's talk about Predator 2, shall we? Oh, wait, we might have a question here. Sturdy, you have to come next year. We would love to get Sturdy out. One thing I definitely want to do this year is I would like to that Friday, whoever's going to be in town that Friday, and I will get with everybody. Maybe go to Pam's Farmhouse, very cool greasy spoon down by the venue, and maybe get some breakfast. We can do maybe a Snobs Nation breakfast and just have a good time. I am definitely excited for that. But yeah, so we are doing 2 horror conversations, which are Thursday night shows. Like I said, that's going to be continuing throughout the year, every year now. Every month we'll be doing a horror conversation show where we talk about CFF and horror and more. It's going to be a really good time. So hopefully you can join in. We're going to be doing one on the 18th at 7 p.m. So next week, and then the 25th at 7 p.m., which will be live from our hotel room. And that's going to be a good one. Might have some guests joining in for that. So I am super excited. Oh, yeah, it is a great guest list. I cannot wait to talk to Barbara Crampton, talk to Dee Wallace, talk so many. There's just so many there. I can't wait. I got family down there too, so I can make it a vacation. I would love for you to come down, man. It would be so much fun. So Predator 2, given to me by my good buddy, Dan, our patron, our master shake, if you will. He asked me to fix this movie. Now, I like Predator 2 a lot. And I don't think there's too much that needs to be fixed in Predator 2. It seems to be a theme lately with a lot of these movies. I don't know that you need to go too crazy with it. I really like the violent aspect of it because it follows in good suit with, something like the first movie, or even like the Aliens or things like that. Other things that were kind of similar in tone around the time. I think it really works. I love the setting of Los Angeles. Not a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, but it is a futuristic set Los Angeles where the city is in turmoil. There's a lot going on. The cops have so much happening. And it wears on them. And of course, climate change and all 9 seem to be coming about, and the drug cartels are taking over. So the Predator is going around and he's killing bad people, good people, the whole 9 yards. And I dig that about this. My thing was it got a little convoluted in the story. It kind of brought it a little bit too out there. I don't know who I would cut for sure. Like, having rewatched it and kind of talking about it now, I don't know that I'd want to sacrifice Gary Busey's character. But if you're not going to sacrifice it, it needs to be fleshed out better. Like, I understand the aspect of what they're going for here, hunting this thing so that way they can weaponize it. It's a very Alien, that franchise. It's that way of thinking. And I like that. I kind of wish that they had connected the sequel to the first one a little bit better. The reason being is, like, I know the story kind of is connected in a way very loosely, but they never really touched down on it. I really wish that you could touch down on it, that these sightings were happening, and maybe like you add that element to the story. Like, The predators have been showing up more and more. Every few years they're here, they're there, they're all over the place. So I think if you added that element to it, and and you set it against that, because I think it was the Colombian cartel and the Jamaican drug cartels who were warring, and the police were kind of stuck in the middle of it while the predator is killing people, and they're trying to figure out that was killing everyone, and should we care? But they're also killing cops too, and they're killing, Bill Paxton's character is a really good character in this. Maria Conchita Alonso plays a good character in this. Man, brutal what happens to her. So I think it just goes a little too far out sometimes. Like where you get Predator, I feel like it needs to be a little bit more toned up version of Predator in a city. Keep it in a city. But I also feel like they should have added more to the backstory. That whole spaceship ending where you have the trophies and everything's connected, where you have Danny Glover's character kind of stepping in and learning a little bit more and having to fight him on his turf, fighting the alien on his turf, and then all these other predators show up, is a very cool aspect. And I really liked it. My biggest problem with it was just towards the end. This is where we get it. You get this whole chase fight scene kind of going through, where this police officer, I understand that, like, for him, this is a big deal where he's trying to take out this thing that's killing his colleagues, his partners and things like that. So he's trying to step up. Ruben Blades in this movie is very good. He takes on a really cool role in this. And as always, he always does a really good job. He's a great character actor. So for when it comes to Predator 2 and all of that, I feel like the real connection between Danny Glover's vengeance run trying to kill this thing and not save the day, but like really take it out for all like the horrific things it's doing, it could have been done better throughout. Like maybe if you lost certain elements, like if you toned down the cartel fighting and made it more investigation in the beginning and then had it blow up into more of a fight. Because I feel like the first Predator did that really well. There was a very ominous feel, like where they are investigating, but they're very gun happy in that first one. So their investigation kind of runs short. So it takes Dutch a long time to actually kind of circle around and get there and figure out what's actually happening. And then once it does, it's all out. It's craziness. I don't think I needed the picked off one by one more than just the investigation, like almost kind of like 7, like the beginning part of 7, where, all right, we have to investigate all these murders that are happening. What's going on? And almost don't link it. But during that investigation, maybe you're finding out more about the Predator's backstory. Like what is this? What is this alien technology that shows up? And maybe tone down Gary Busey's character to the point where he's not trying to grab this thing, weaponize it in a certain way, capture it. But maybe he knows something. Maybe he's more CIA-ish, meaning he's more fedora, come in, ominous smoking man in the corner. And Danny Glover is realizes he knows more than he's letting on. And I'm starting to figure it out. And he's coming to me trying to figure out what I know. I felt like that would have been a really good playoff because they're both great actors and that was a great time for it. And then you get into the all-out action, you get into the chase, you get into the fights. I felt like that could have added a layer to Predator that could have brought it more and more down the line with sequels, where each movie you learn more and more about the Predators and who they are. Not just kind of thrown in there ham-fisted. There's a lot of rich territory to kind of cover in the comic books and stuff like that in the books. So I just felt like this movie could have really opened up the eyes to it, because the first movie does not share a lot with you. It is very forward. That's why I felt like this having an investigation aspect, still have the cops getting killed, still have the cartels getting killed by the Predator, and this cop is on a vengeance ride at first, first I would put him as an investigation, then go on the vengeance ride, then go on. This has to stop at all costs. This thing is more powerful than we know. and then get into it. Danny Glover, I love Danny Glover. I love him as an actor. I don't know that he's an action star. I don't know that he was the right choice for this. If I'm being honest, he felt out of place in this movie. Now, could it, even in the fight scenes, like he did all right, but it was hard enough to believe that Dutch in the first one, who is the elite of the elite, could fight the Predator as well as he did, and he did not do well. You know what I mean? So to have Danny Glover step in the sequel, that's why I would like it, if you're going to have Danny Glover, have it more of an investigation. Actually, more in tone with like what Lethal Weapon 1 was, where it's more investigation, take out a lot of the shooting, which was mostly Mel Gibson's character, Riggs in it, but more of the investigation. You have to, each stop, you're kind of getting closer, you're getting more and more clues. So I might have recasted our two main stars, Gary Busey and Danny Glover. And that's like the biggest thing I think that would fix that. I hate to say it, and I really love watching these movies, because for what it's worth, it's a good movie. It's fun, but I probably would have recast both of them. I just don't think they fit too well. So, but that's just what I thought. I would love to know if you think I fixed it or not, or where you thought it would go. I think those elements would fix the movie. Overall, though, the setting, the actors for the time, I think it was really well done. I probably, if you're going to do something this big, and especially with a sequel that could have been so much better, I probably would have got more of an established director to step in. I don't want to put anyone down. Stephen Hopkins is a good director. Stephen Hopkins did a lot of fun movies, but if you really think about it, he did movies like, as a director, he did Judgment Night, which I liked, but again, doesn't hold up to the test of time. And I can see Predator being kind of put up onto it. He did like Lost in Space, Blown Away. He did I think one of the biggest ones he did was Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Predator 2, you're coming off Predator, which was a huge movie. I really feel like, if you had just picked up like a big time action director, it could have been a better film. That's just my feelings on it. But, or even just more of a mainstream, bigger film. With a lot more, heat to it and stuff like that. But hopefully, let me know what you think in the comments. Comment, join the Discord. Let's talk about it. Let me know if I fixed it. Dan, thank you for the movie. Really appreciate it. Again, next week we will be doing Search for Spock, which was given to us by our other patron, Tim. Now, you don't have to be a patron to give me a movie. You can they have preferential treatment, but you can always jump in. Katie has one. Katie says, I love that idea. Or perhaps a branch of the government that has encountered the predators hunting on Earth before and trying to collect info in LA. I love that. And yeah, like that CIA, like we know it happened in the jungle. This has been happening for a long time. That's kind of what I meant along the lines of like, he's there. He's the smoking man from X-Files who knows everything that could really help the police officer, but he doesn't know everything. And he needs him to kind of, as he's going, he needs Danny Glover's character to kind of facilitate more information and come back. So I love that aspect of it. Just have that branch of government. But I just, as much as I love Gary Busey in his movies, I think especially back then he was a fine actor, I just don't think he fit that role that well. And also he wasn't a well-written role. So that's just my feelings on it. But thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Real quick before we get started, before we tend to move on, I do want to talk to you guys just for a few seconds, if you'll allow me. Please don't go anywhere. I want to thank our patrons, who I really just truly appreciate, everybody who joins in and really helps support everything. Ward, Rosemary, George C3, John W, Chris Harris, Ron Lippett, Jay, excuse me, I am so sorry about that. Jason Taylor, Dale, Matt, Sturdy, AJ, Paul, Tim, John, Chris, and Master Shake, of course. Thank you guys so much for doing it. If you guys are interested, our Patreon is up. You can go check it out now. We have 6 tiers available. They all offer different things, perks, stuff like that. And we have some great patrons who are a part of it. It really helps us go a long way, helps us keep the lights on. We truly appreciate you. Guys, like I said, we have a lot going on. Next week, we're going to have another great guest for you, so make sure you're checking it out. We're going to do it at 7 p.m. again next week. I'm trying out this time slot to see where it was. We were at 9 o'clock for almost 4 years. So I want to try 7 o'clock now, see if we can kind of do that along the way a little bit. It just it makes it a little bit earlier, makes editing a lot easier, not at 10:30 at night. But thank you guys again so much. Really, you guys joining in on this and listening and watching means so much to me. I know I'm not that great of an outro as Casey was. And actually, let me touch down on that real quick as we're kind of closing. I didn't get a chance to post, but I know a lot of people are concerned about Casey, off the show and kind of where we're at. Casey's my best friend. I love Casey. We sat down. He was hurt, and I was hurt, and we needed like a week or so just to kind of lick our wounds and kind of separate and kind of think about things. But I will tell you, it was we had such an amazing time the other day. We sat down, we talked, and we were hanging out outside and just had a great time. And it was so nice to be able to just like not have to worry about anything on the business side of stuff and just talk about stuff that we love. So we are good. We've talked almost every day. We're having a great time. He's a great guy. I love Casey no matter what he does. And he always has a home here at Snobs. But right now, it's just where we're at. So I just want to let you guys know that. But thank you again so much. I appreciate you. I love you. And I will talk to you guys next week. Take care. I didn't click the button.